Welcome to WTF Reloaded. And this right here is just my opinion. We're going to talk a little bit about some rapid fire discussions and topics related to sports, what's happening, what's going on, what's popping. It's not always going to be about sports, but hey, college football is in full effect. We're going to talk about a few things within the college sports realm right now at this point, and then we're going to branch off and we'll get into other topics as well. Sometimes what's hot, what's not, what's going on, life, family, all that different things we'll talk about on WTF Reloaded. It's just my opinion. Starting it off, class, we're one of the things that you really wanted to talk about was something specific. What did you want to get into? Welcome to you as well, my brother.
Yes.
This is a beautiful thing to be in WTF studios, first and foremost. But
comfortable, happy, feel a little bit more in control. I feel like I could let loose. That's what I want to do. I want to let loose, something I don't get to do very often. But football is in full effect right now. College football is in full effect. And over the last few years, I feel like we've almost could predict who we thought would win a national championship or who were going to be in contention. But this year, it's a little bit different. It has a different feel to it. I would say, I don't know who the dominant teams are. The last few years have been Alabama, Georgia, Michigan's been in the mix. Back a little bit further, Clemson. We almost could predict who had all the 5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
best quarterback, a lot of those things you could see. You could kind of, some of the best talents, whether it be at the skill position, whether it be at the defense, you pretty much can see where there was some dominance, is what you're saying.
And the portal is playing a big role in what we're seeing because every year things are switching up and changing. But right now, this year, 2025 going into 2026, it's only a couple of teams that somewhat have separated themselves. Right now, it's been Miami, it's been Ohio State, and maybe Oregon. But we know that Ohio State, Oregon, they're probably going to eliminate each other at some point, maybe in their Big Ten championship game. But I'm trying to figure out who that sleeper team is. Who is that team that we just are not thinking about right now that can maybe come up through the ranks and surprise a few people? I mean, right now you got like a Vanderbilt who really kind of went in. They lost to Alabama, but they made a really good, they made a good showing for themselves. We have your teams like Indiana, still undefeated. The other team that's undefeated, but maybe not getting as much respect is let me see who else we got. Who else we got undefeated?
So you have Ohio State that's undefeated. You have Miami. You have Oregon. Ole Miss with a big win. Now, see, Ole Miss to me and Penn State are very similar in that somehow they find a way to trick themselves off.
Yeah.
Now, for Ole Miss, a lot of the times it's usually in LSU. But they were able to overcome that. When you look upon the SEC now, you got to find out where your next hiccup is, because you saw what Miami's been able to do. They're not in the SEC, but you saw what they did to Florida State. You saw what they did to Florida. You know that they're not the ones. Alabama's topsy-turvy. Georgia, hit or miss. So it's really not clear, as you said, within the conference structure. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those realignment things and where those lay. But good stuff. It's just our opinion. You see what I'm saying? We just trying to figure it out for you. One of the things that I will say for you guys, those who are watching us on YouTube or any of the platforms, jump in the comments. Let us know your opinion as well. What's your opinion on the matter? And if our opinion you think stinks, which clusters sometimes do, we'll get it right. We'll tap in and get it right. Stricky's always right. I don't know what's wrong with class, but Stricky, he'll always be right. Because, see, I'm not on radio now. I just want y'all to know one thing. I'm not on radio no more. So I can really talk my shit.
Listen, I stay fresh. I don't know what you're talking about. There's many who've been around me, and they constantly ask me, what's that you got on? You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it's just natural body scent. You know what I'm talking about? But The transition.
Transition, talk to me.
I wanted to kind of talk about, we talked about the teams that are not dominant. We don't have a dominant team that we're going, hey, they've separated themselves. Let's talk about a team that was dominant, but now has a new coach, and
you got to be going south somewhere.
He's following a legend.
Okay.
Right? What's your thoughts on following a legend? Here you got Kalen DeBoer. He's now at Alabama. When I look at those, when I listen to some of those call-in shows, because I take a little peek into fan bases just to see how they react. Because Alabama has been spoiled. They've been spoiled for about 15, 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
Their legendary coach retired. And I also played for a legendary coach who retired 2 years after I was gone. I got to see just how spoiled we were. But if you were a coach, Eric, this legend retires 7 championships. Do you go in after him when he's over? He's got a statue up in front of the stadium. Will he get his just due?
Well, I would say it's one of the most difficult things to do. And it takes someone that's built different. I mean, one of the things, off the air topics we were having, just stay tuned because it is going to happen. Chet Fortune is going to be joining us to talk about Bud Crawford and the insights on what it takes to keep the body right, keep him tight, and all of those good things in the build-up for the Canelo fight. We're going to definitely have him, and we're going to really dig into that conversation. But it's a tough thing, Kless. It's one of the hardest things to do is to follow up on some form of a legend. It doesn't matter who it is. It's those who followed up behind Michael Jordan. It's the coach now at Duke that followed up after Krzyzewski. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's those type of things. It's one of the hardest things. You got to be built different in order to do it. You got to understand there's going to be some ebbs and flows. There's going to be some bad, moments in time. Mm-hmm. You can look at the same thing at Oklahoma, how tough that was initially to take over and so forth and so on. So I think it's difficult. I think you need a mindset that's built different to go in there. Very, very similar to what happened in Nebraska with the volleyball team.
Absolutely. Volleyball is a little different.
It's still following different. A legend.
It's a little different, but
it's still the same topic of following a legend.
But I'm gonna tell you this, Eric. Absolutely no. I would not follow a legend.
I'd go make my own.
I would go off somewhere, blaze my own path, and maybe after they've failed 4, 5, 6 times, maybe I'll come in after I've established myself somewhere. And I said to myself, self, I've done what I needed to do here. Let me go back and see if I can, because obviously Bear Bryant was at Alabama, and I don't think anybody thought that you could supersede him. And
same thing in Green Bay.
What he brought, right?
Yeah.
But how many coaches were there before Nick Saban?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they had little success. They had some success here and there before Coach Saban came in, but he came in and really kind of established that old Alabama culture. And Nebraska currently is still kind of looking for that. I think that some may think that they might have found the coach, but that's yet to be determined. Following the legend of Coach Osborne, you had Frank Solich. When you go back and look at Frank Solich's record at almost an 80% clip, I think fans wish that they had a Coach Solich.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
But
well, let's keep it cracking since we're talking about that. The question then also becomes, when you do take over, are you still old school or are people looking at you as new school? Like one of the things that I think we are finding out there, and shout out to teams like Indiana. I think there are great coaching staffs like the one that coached up at South Dakota State with Cade. And how they're now starting to cycle their way through lower, FCS. I mean, FBS. rankings, and eventually with that hard work and what they are able to do with building a team, taking talent and making them great. Those are new school teams out there that are having great success right now in this realm, because I think there's been a lot of overlooking of talented players and players that didn't necessarily have all the stars, but they go and develop. And this is what you can talk about because you've seen it. You've seen guys that come through Nebraska's program in its height. They come in as walk-ons and they leave out as All-Americans.
Correct.
So you can understand the uniqueness of that.
But I think the key to that, Eric, is back on following a legend and back to being able to be a coach who can pick out some of those type of players you are discussing. Is I think you got to be yourself, right? I think most fans get used to what they've seen in that legendary coach, and most people are looking for that same kind of coach. And what fans have to wrap their minds around is this coach was successful the way he was, what his personality was, what he instilled in his players. Like Coach Saban was very stern, a hardcore disciplinarian. And it seems like, and I'm just speculating, seems like Coach DeBoer is more of a player
friendly, player
more,
friendly,
a little bit looser.
Mm-hmm.
And people are not used to that. People are used to the very stern, giving off phrases of the day. Or, I mean, I can't even tell you how many quotables I've seen of Coach Saban where people were like, I got to write that down, or I could use that in business, right? That's who he was. But we got to get used to.
It's a different voice, a different sound.
And that's the toughest thing for fans, Eric. That's the toughest thing for fans is if you've been successful under a certain type of direction, can you be successful under another type of direction? And the phrase is, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
I don't know where they came up with that phrase, but people use it all the time.
Yeah, and so moving on to the next one, again, jump in the comments, tap in on each discussion. We have a few more that we're going to get to, but we definitely would love to hear your thoughts on it. Also, subscribe, like, and share to your friends, family, loved ones all throughout, and have them jump into the conversation as well. We hope that you're able to enjoy this segment and what it all entails.
Can we go to the next one? You ready to go to the next
we're about to go to the next one.
New school respect, Eric. There's been some schools that have come up. You got particularly this year, you got Vanderbilt, who was 5-0. They just lost. Indiana, 5-0 again. I think maybe they won. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they won.
So I think they may be 6-0.
I think they're 5-0.
They're 5-0.
Yeah, they're 5-0.
Okay.
If I looked at the schedules, Indiana is 5-0.
5-0.
Yeah.
Eric, will those
Texas Tech is 5-0, but they paid for it.
But that's another one.
They spent that money.
Actually, that's
that money, that moolah.
So there's 3 schools right there. Eric, do you respect those schools right now? Like, will they get the type of player consistently who wants to come there and build a culture of winning?
Well, what you're going to have is sometimes you have these one-offs, like, for example, SMU.
Okay.
You're going to have those Boise State one-offs. You're going to have a lot of these one-offs when you're talking about new schools. Sometimes Tulane will pop their head up and stuff like
Boise
that.
In there.
They're just an example.
But yeah,
just as an example.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. Quietly on the low-key tip, you're seeing like a Missouri.
Yeah.
That they normally would pop their head out like a whack-a-mole, and then get hacked back down, and then all of a sudden they disappear off the scene, and they doo-doo brown, and the next thing you know, they pop their head back up again. You got a whack-a-mole.
Wow.
But they're seeming to find their way, low-key, quiet on the sneak tip. You have a lot of new teams like that kind of are doing that. Now, where their success comes from, that's where I think you have to have an identity. that identity has to be, what is your niche? You know what I mean? Now, styles of play can change. Obviously, you want to keep things consistent with your coordinators.
Mhm.
Sometimes they move on. You got to make an adjustment.
Yep.
You know, I like what Nebraska was trying to do, and that Coach White left and having success down at Florida State. But they wanted to keep the terminology, the system, their recruitment, the way that they're recruiting, pretty consistent. But those one-offs is the thing that I have problem with. And if they can stay to their niche class, I think they're going to have success. And that's where they will have consistency within the framework of what they're building, because they're going to build it from the way that they know and have success.
I'm going to simply say this, Eric. Some people may agree with me. Some people may not. In order to get my respect, because it's just my opinion, you got to do it more than just 1 year. You got to do it 2 to 3 to 4 years for me to say, you know what? This coach came in, he put his imprint on the program. He got the players in there that he wanted and needed. And hey, this guy is a great coach. That's the type of coach I think earns a paycheck and will earn probably the benefit to go to a higher level, right? That's what I think. I don't think you can be a one-hit wonder. And right now, this is another controversial statement I'm about to make. Coach Sanders, Coach Deion Sanders, he did it 1 year, and the fact that they were 9-4, I want to say they were 9-4 last year. But this year, the struggle is real without the Heisman Trophy winner and his son. I mean, I don't know if you can put Coach Sanders in as a coach, unless you want to count what he did at the HBCU level. You were able to win a couple of, be in the mix and winning championships there. But FBS is just a whole nother level.
Yeah, and I'm gonna really just slightly backtrack, and the reason why I am is, what is really following a legend? You see what I'm saying? Like, would you say that it also happens not just with coaches, but also with players? Like, are you the player that wants to follow Larry Bird's success, or is it a team success? Are you that one that wants to be the center that comes behind Kareem? So did Shaq exceed? Are those the questions that come to mind when you're talking about those types of things? When you're dealing with the other side of it and not just the coach's side of it? When you're dealing with the player side of it, are you looking at Dirk for the Mavericks, and you're looking at him and you're basically saying, hey, do I want to be the guy after this guy's the one that brought, did Luka surpass that?
The reason why I think that that's a little different, Eric, is that I think as fans, we expect the players to move on at some point. Whereas a coach is around for a while. We, not to say that we don't revere players, because obviously we do, but a coach can really submit himself. A coach is more responsible for the outcome of what's going to happen in that program. And again, back on following a legend, I think that's much tougher than saying that, Larry Bird is going to retire, or Larry Bird got traded, or something happened that we know that things are going to change. And, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, that's all it really is. At the end of the day, it just comes down to that part of it. It's just my opinion. It's just our opinion. Last topic that we'll touch on today. I want to throw this out there, and it's just my opinion, obviously, that our dynasty's done. Our dynasty's over. When you look at, like you said, you just ran off Saban. You ran off the success, the consistency of what they have done at Alabama. We can go and look, it's tough to weigh that out when you have salary caps in other sports now. It's tough to keep that. those dynasties. We see pretty much the last of it happening at Golden State on the basketball side of it. Like you said, there's really no one emerging on the football. We thought maybe Kirby would be next. Not really. But there's other dynamics that are being integrated because I think it's evening the playing field with what just transpired shifting out of the NIL now that the universities are having to take on the revenue share. So it kind of equated the playing field. You can't be like Ohio State. Now you can still have good NIL deals, but as a whole, you have to be sound in your decision-making in order to build a dynasty. And we're seeing that possibly peeking his head at OKC right now with the way that they build it, with the track record, with all of their draft picks and their ability to be pliable and shift and make moves. You got to do it in a different way. It just seems like you got to find that right model.
College football, there's only two places I believe can possibly still have a dynasty over its head. Kirby Smart at Georgia, he's won a couple of championships, and I want to say maybe he lost in a championship, and he's still relatively young in his career at Georgia. I think that he has more to win, and I think that he hasn't had a bad year. I want to say he's won at least 10 or 11 games. So what do we classify as a dynasty? You know, that's another thing we got to think about. And I was going to put Dabo Swinney. He's won a few at Clemson. I know he's been in maybe 3, but his last few years have been really tough. Like, can he reinvent himself and get back to that old place again? But I'm going to tell you, if you have not embraced NIL, and if you have not decided that, you know what, I need to pay to play, then you're going to get left behind. It's just my opinion, but that's what I see what's happening.
At the end of the day, it all is just our opinion. What's your opinion? When it comes down to it, how do you feel about it? What's your thought on it? Put it in the comments below. Tap in with us. Also, go ahead and throw in a topic of discussion. Any type of discussion. It doesn't have to be fresh and new. It can be anything worldwide, mental-wide. There's things, whatever. That's part of Strictionary now. Shit, I don't know what mental-wide is. I just throwing words out. But anyway, but yeah, it's just our opinion class.
Yeah.
It's a great start. Again, WTF Studios is back in full effect.
Yes.
We are no longer on the radio, so we're able to talk a little bit
reloaded.
more. Isha.
WTF Reloaded. All the people who enjoyed us before, we're about to give you some more. We're about to give it to you raw, uncut.
Ooh, baby, I like it raw.
Listen, y'all.
Yeah, baby, I like it raw.
Just warming up. We got to get used to the fact that we have no restrictions. So I think more and more is going to come out over, and I think you're going to be a little surprised.
Yeah. There's a lot of surprises in store right here on 93, not
Whoa.
the 7. On 93, not the 7. It's on WTF Studios right here.
Reminded me of GU Knots.
You used to tease me about that all the time. We're gonna leave that alone.
Yeah.
But here's what it all boils down to. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. Please join us in this journey as we make our way on the YouTube airwaves and the X airwaves and Instagram and follow us there, because we're really just going to have fun with this thing. But stay tuned definitely for what's coming up. We have 2 guests that are coming up real shortly. We're going to have, again, Chet Fortune that's going to join us. That's part of Terrence Crawford's, basically team.
Boxing team.
Yeah, that helps him to get ready for his fights and his big fights. He's been with him for all the championship fights that he's fought and all the unifications, basically. And so we're definitely going to have him. And then we're going to have a legend. We just talked about legends, but we're definitely going to have another legend that's going to join us.
The guy who should have won a Heisman.
The guy that should have won a Heisman. I think it got stolen. And we want to know your thoughts on it. So tune in for that as well. Tommy Touchdown Frazier is going to be tapping in with us as well right here in WTF Studios. Not 93.7. But we appreciate y'all again. We love y'all. We'll see y'all real soon. We're out of here until the next time when it's just our opinion.